The Buddhist sermon is delivered by the Venerable Weligepola Seelawansa Maha Thera of the Siri Vajraramaya in Bambalapitiya.
නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු වරහතු සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස. Dear devotees, dear friends, today I like to expose the message of the Buddha, which is also will be very useful to you in understanding about the craving, tanha, taught by the Buddha. With regard to the origination of the human being and other inanimate objects in the world, and also how the people become some lustful characters in the world, we must understand the origination of the craving and origination of this world, physical world. I think here I like to explain this point taught by the Buddha, which is in detail included in Agganya Sutta, Digha Nikaya. I think Digha Nikaya is included many long sermons. Digha Nikaya is very important because the Buddha has taught some psychological points as well as about the social life, social problems. I think with regard to the problems, inertly erupted problems, and as well as the social problems. If anybody is purified personally, no opportunity to erupt, spring some social problems. So therefore, first of all, we must purify our mind. According to this Agganya Sutta, I think mostly the Buddha has explained about the eruption of the emergence of the social problems. So therefore, after destruction of the world, I think that is accepted by the modern scientists also, because of the becoming warmth of the world. I think we are talking now about the global warmth. Here in Buddhism also, in some references, especially in this sutta, Agganya Sutta in Digha Nikaya, long sermons, included long sermons. Here, I think Buddha has also mentioned about the destruction of the world. After destruction of the world, naturally, the human beings who are living on the earth are transmigrated into Abhassara Brahma sphere. I think listeners, the audience may not understand in detail about the Brahma spheres. I think those who want to reach the attained Brahma sphere, they must develop the sublime qualities out of some samatha meditation. Samatha meditation is taught by the Buddha to suppress, subdue defilements in the mind of the human beings. So after suppression of those defilements, they can attain higher visions. If they don't decline from those higher vision at the moment of the death, uttaring appati vijjanto brahmaloku pagohoti, in some sermons, I think I like to give some Pali quotations also, they will be born in the Brahma sphere. I think I like to give what are the sublime thoughts should be developed by human beings. I think they have been categorized metta, karuna, mudita, upekka. They are the sublime thoughts. Now, all the human beings are having cultivated those sublime thoughts immediate after birth of a respective human being. As a human being, to become a human being, we must have developed those sublime thoughts in the past, in the previous births also. As the results of developing those sublime thoughts in the previous births, when we were born as the human being, sometimes as some animals. So therefore, after cultivating them, when we haven't declined from those sublime thoughts already cultivated, after birth of a person, they can clarify them in the present birth. In the present birth, they can clarify, further developing those humanities and mankind. So, but however, all the human beings, naturally, after destruction of all the world, they have been transmigrated into Brahmasphere. Brahmasphere is not materialistic. That is mentally developed sphere, not materialistic. I think, dear listeners, you must understand. I think there are some those spheres where there are subtle bodies, very ethereal bodies, secondary bodies. According to some sermons, I think I have understood that there are some beings who are having only subtle bodies, secondary bodies. Those who are living in the Brahmasphere, Abhasara Brahmasphere, regarded as self-radiant beings. Self-radiant beings are not having materialistic bodies. But when the time being, what happened? They come to the earth again after long period of time. I think in Buddhism, very good term is given as eon. A-E-O-N. Eon means the long period of time, long duration of time. After long duration of time, they come to the earth, and then when they had come to the earth, the whole earth was full of water. On the surface of the water, there was certain edible thing. I think scientifically that term is given as a certain substance which are edible, eatable. So therefore, one being, radiant being, who had come to the world, curiously, I think curiosity is the first stage for the coming to being of the living beings in this world. Curiously, he leaped the edible substance floating on the water. After eating that substance, his radiant body disappeared. As the disappearance of the radiant body, his body became materialistic. Actually, that is the first stage of corrupted mind. After leaping them, the surface, the floating edible thing floating on the surface of the water, their radiant body disappeared. As a result of the disappearance of the radiant body, their body became materialistic body. I think we are talking about the materialistic body today. There are many problems out of the enjoyment of the taken by materialistic body. Always we must nourish our body through eating materialistic food. I think the beings who were in Abhasara Brahmasphere was not eating materialistic food. It is known as Kabalinkara Ahara. But we are eating materialistic food. after eating materialistic food, always our body become different from the beings who were in the Abhasara sphere and some other spheres who had been developing some good qualities, like, as I told you, metta, karuna, mudita, upekka, I think those sublime thoughts. But those sublime thoughts also disappeared after eating those materialistic food. Curiously, I think curiosity is the first stage to become this human world. I think human world is appreciated by the Buddha, but although it is short terms of life, having short terms of life, many people are talking that certain persons are living long time, but however, in comparison with the span of life of the Brahma sphere or celestial world, the life of the human world is very short, having short span of life. But naturally, that short span of life is appreciated by the Buddha because I think anybody is mindfully watchful. This materialistic body, it is changing very rapidly. That is very, very helpful to understand impermanence of life. I think every human being should understand the impermanence of life to get away from bad deeds. If anybody understands impermanence of life, he is not taking effort to do bad. That is psychologically very, very important. So therefore, if always we must understand that the life is impermanent. So therefore, Buddha appreciated this human life because it paves the way to understand the impermanence and sorrowfulness of life. And also insubstantiality of life, soullessness of this life. They are regarded as three characteristics. But however, this person who came to the earth, after disappearing the radiant body, I think when his body became materialistic, always another living being also who had come from that same Abhasara sphere, he also imitating the first being, he also leap the food floating on the water, and after eating that substance also, his body was also became very coarse and rough. And also gradually what happened, several beings came to the earth and they ate the same materialistic food floating on the surface of the water, but they understood that respectively their bodily conditions differ from one another. Actually, that is the starting point of jealousy. One is very, very handsome or beautiful in comparison with the other. So therefore, I think jealousy, the bad temperament in the human life is the jealousy. I think after eruption of jealousy, sometimes some other bad thoughts also erupted, and that is the origination of lustful thoughts. After curiously eating those edible things, lustful thoughts and hateful thoughts and deluded thoughts. And also they became very, very, I think, very lazy. Sometimes actually they began to collect. Now formerly all the living beings who were migrated to the earth from Abhasara sphere, they used the properties on the earth commonly. No privately usage at that time. But later on, those sluggish persons, lazy persons, they collected money and some other wealth, especially paddy and some other consumptive items at that time. After collecting them, they became very selfish person. I think selfishness is very bad because it paves the way to do bad. So therefore, private ownerships of the people became to lead bad deeds. So therefore, always they collected, and thereafter that is known in Buddhism as Sannidhi Karaka Kama Paribhoga, consumption after collecting. I think if you go to a temple, the Buddhist monk, those who are leading monastery life, whatever got by them, by the donors, they are deposited in storage. After depositing them in storage, the chief incumbent of the temple or chief monk of the temple, sometimes when asked by any monk, resident monk in the temple, I think what is needed by him is given by the chief monk of the temple. I think usually whatever got by donors are not personally used. That is known as Sangika. I think Sangha and Sangika means in Pali word commonly usage, using the properties, anything, any benefits given by the donors. So similarly in the preliminary life, in the preliminary stage of after evolution of this origination of living beings, human beings on the earth, I think no private ownership. But later on what happened actually, always they began to own the private properties. That's how they became egoistic. I think better to understand that I, my, and my soul, I-ness, minus. I think that is very important because I think with reference to some suttas, I think I-ness has been aggravated through in the childhood also. I think recently I read one sutta included in Kindred saying, Samyutta Nikaya. Name of that sutta is Satta Sutta. Satta means the living being. I think the meaning of that Pali term, in the childhood, I think we know usually they go to the sands. Actually, they are making some mountains, some castles and some houses in the sand. But after making them, I think usually in English actually making mountains, castles and houses in the sand out of molehills. So after making those castles, houses, mountains, sometimes actually they are enjoyed by them. After enjoying them temporarily, actually they destroy them. So similarly, these eagerness, lustful thoughts could be erupted even in the childhood, because all the children who were in the past previous births, always they have been developing lustful thoughts. But however, if they are not having good environment to associate, good friends to associate, sometimes if the parents are very bad, sometimes they are not in a position to give the guidance to the children, always they are taking effort to own private things and also doing some bad deeds. Therefore, we must be careful to understand the mind of the children also, because in his childhood itself, always they are developing egoistic ideas, I-ness and mine-ness, and also my soul, like that actually according to Buddha's teachings. So therefore, The person firstly came to this earth also through curiously they lipped the edible substance floating on the surface of the water, and thereafter becoming materialistic life, he began to do very, very bad deeds. And also after imitating, I think usually in the present society also we can understand that always we are taking effort to compare and contrasting with the properties belonging to others. And comparing and contrasting the properties belonging to others, not only the properties but also actually the body, complexion also. Some may think that my body is ugly in comparison with the others. His body is very beautiful and I am very beautiful in comparison with the others. Like that, actually comparing one another, also the path leading to erupt bad thoughts. So therefore, in this sutta, long sutta, Aganya Sutta, I tried to explain about the origination of human being as well as evolution of the human being. Usually that is, in a way it is good and also in a way it is very bad. But however, Buddha, in the same sutta, in the very sutta, in some other suttas also, after developing the materialistic body, if anybody is in a position to restrain, in Sinhala language it is known as sangvara, restraining and controlling the senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue and body, he can moderate in everything. So that is known as Sila, morality. So therefore there are moral principles taught by the Buddha to restrain the mind, body and words especially. So when the body and the words are restrained, he can lead very good social life. Now many social problems here in Sri Lanka, in some other countries, actually because of lacking this restraint. So therefore, in this sermon, I think I explained the origination of the human beings and also their evolution, I think in good angle and bad angle. So therefore, you must understand how to get rid of craving. I think craving is divided into three parts. The first one is kama tanha, actually craving to enjoy the sensual pleasures unlimitedly. Enjoyment is not prohibited by the Buddha, it is usual thing. Usually every formation of the human body is to enjoy. Actually we are having opportunity to enjoy. But however, enjoying anything which is harmful to oneself and to the others is not approved by the Buddha. So therefore there must be a restraint in enjoyment also, following certain moral principles taught by the Buddha and some other religious teachers also. And bhavatanha is known as, after evolution of a human being, desirous to birth and rebirth, becoming and re-becoming as the human beings, but in some other beings also, in the celestial life also, and also desirous of enjoyment only. As I told you, mere enjoyment is not appreciated by the Buddha, but happiness is approved by the Buddha. So enjoyment, unlimitedly enjoyments pave the way to do bad. It is very harmful. Therefore, through the code of some discipline taught by the Buddha, some precepts taught by the Buddha, moderation is approved by the Buddha. Moderation in enjoyment is approved by the Buddha. So if anybody conduct one's life having moderation in senses, he can lead very good human life. So therefore, dear listeners, audience, my friends, I think you understood what I said. So therefore, following the instructions given by me, may you live long in peace and happiness. Thank you very much.
The Buddhist sermon was delivered by the Venerable Weligepola Seelawansa Maha Thera of the Siri Vajraramaya in Bambalapitiya. If you wish to contact the Reverend Thera, you may call 071 807 0746.